morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Zwift Community Live broadcast, the Core Sports Warrior Race. We're out on Watopia Flat for 2 laps today. For those of you unfamiliar with what's going on with this, we do have a new broadcast partner with Core Sports. They are a bespoke coaching company and esports service spanning 35 countries worldwide. Their coaches are full-time professional with national accreditations and years of experience. Core Sports is for the endurance enthusiast, competitive beast, wild dreamer. Join the tribe and be a warrior by jumping into these races, and make sure you're checking them out over on, it is coasports.com.au. Now, Tim Ballantyne is a coach, 2 times Kona as well as 5 times 70.3 champion. He is. We also do have Greg McDermott on with him in co-commentary. He is a coach, 5 times Ironman as well, a ride around Oz. And Kent Cross is also a coach. Will be bringing some analysis in the background for all of the riders on site. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. We do have some great pre-show that Core Sports has put together for us. Let's go ahead, head on over to those boys down in the lands down under, that is Australia. And we will see you after the race for more on the results. So take it away, boys. Per kilo by Sproul.
Jason's coming back. Jason's coming back over the top. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. I'm stealing Nathan Singh. I'm Greg McDermott. This with me is Tim Ballantyne, and on special comments this morning we have the amazing Kent Cross, who will be jumping in and out, giving us some amazing stats, Tim, as we go through the Watopia Flat course, one of my favourite courses to race on Zwift.
Yeah, one for the big sprinters. Look, it's Watopia Flat, but I call it the not-so-flat because there is a little bit in it. It's one of the easier courses, obviously. It's one of those, when you first sign up for Zwift, you've got access to it, so everyone really knows it well. You've got that big downhill sprint, but let's have a look. We've done a little fly-through. We're going to walk people through what to expect. Just obviously we're doing 2 laps. This fly-through will just cover the 1 lap. So we'll try and transition to that, and we'll walk through what exactly this course is going to dish up. Okay, so basically we skipped the pier bit. We obviously rode this, so you'll come out onto Ocean Boulevard, take that quick left and go down towards this underwater tunnel. This is just your raw, hard Zwift racing start, unlike, say, Harrogate in Stage 7, where you've got the 2 to 3%, 4% for the first 2Ks. This is really flat. You get a little ramp, obviously, as you come out of the tunnel. You come out of this opening section, which is a bit of a tribute to the old Jarvis Island for all those old Zwifters out there. But yeah, you roll through this tunnel here, and basically everything sort of starts to settle down at this point. Again, they are covering this obviously twice. They're covering this twice. So here's that little ramp. You come out of there and you come out towards the marina, and you start to get a little bit of elevation in about 1 kilometre's time, and you'll start to creep your way up. So they'll do a bit of a left-hander, comes up to about 2%. Again, everyone sort of holds together.
Yeah, the elevation starts at about 1%, Tim, and then kicks up as you hit those sort of hairpinish type turns up that little climb there as well. Yep. So definitely a point to stay with the race, but not where it's won and lost on this course.
Little leg stretches, I like to call them, is particularly when they get through those S's, which we're not at the moment. This is just that sort of that ramp, the start of, and then they'll come through and wind their way down towards that finish line. We're not quite there. It's obviously about a 10.2 kilometre lap, so a little downhill section, just a little chance here to rest the legs before they get to the sprint com, and they come through this tunnel. We'll ask Kent later some of the sprint com data. It's pretty interesting. I took this one nice and easy when I was riding through, but here's the start of the S's. So if you're not that really heavy 1,000-watt sprinter, which I found is probably the only time really that you can maybe just put a little bit of hurt through the raw legs, because otherwise then it's just a down long hill sprint all the way to the finish line. But yeah, this is sort of pinchy up how you'll see big numbers top left just jumping up and around, and here it goes down towards the finish along Ocean Boulevard.
Yeah, one of the iconic sprint finishes in the Zwift world, and a really good finish arch to roll through as well. So I would be expecting these riders to be punching 15, 16, 17 watts per kilo as they come through that finish chute on lap 2, Tim. So,
speaking of riders, Greg, we're going to have a look at 3 riders in the paddock tonight that we've sort of highlighted that have done pretty well in these Warrior Warrior Races, and I'll step it over to you, and we'll bring up young Josh Harrison, I believe.
Yeah, Josh Harrison, the Snagglepuss, joins us from New Zealand, the land of the long white cloud, and he has a very impressive palmares, Tim and Kent, on Zwift. So he's raced 159 times on Zwift. His past 10 starts, he's had 2 wins. And last time out for the Snagglepuss on the Coal Sports race, he joins us quite regularly. He finished a very, very respectable 6th place. So watch out for him in the final sprint as they come through as well. So I'm going to hand over to you, Tim, and you can do the little intro for one of our next riders.
No worries. You like that little change of screen there. So we've got one of our favourites here is Jean-Philippe. And Jean-Philippe, he's a really, really hander. What I like about Jean-Philippe, just if we get a good look at him, is his form of late has been absolutely outstanding. So he's really experienced, well over 150 Zwift race starts, but his past 10 starts, there's the form right there to sort of use the horse racing colloquialism, but we like the last 10 starts. So he's gone 3 wins, he's had a second and picked up a couple of thirds, and a couple of those big wins have come in the Tour de Zwift recently. And so I think, certainly Jean-Philippe likes to be there in the finish, but he does have a nemesis out there. And, of course, his nemesis is a very, very strong rider and looking like he is in the paddock tonight. But here's Jean-Philippe, out of Canada. And the last rider we're going to look at is his nemesis. And I'll throw over to you, buddy.
Yeah, so Luc Gilbert is coming up for what we call in Australia the double hat-trick this evening in the Coal Sports Warrior race. He's won the last 3 events. And up against Jean-Philippe, he's 7 wins and 5 losses head-to-head against him. So looking for a very big push. So a few stats around Luke. He's raced 417 times on Zwift over his career. And I actually question, does he actually do any work? So definitely is a very regular on all of our races. Yeah, his last 10 starts doesn't get any better than this, Tim. 3 wins, 2 seconds and 2 thirds. Won the last 3 of the Coal Warrior race, as we have seen. And watch for his sprint. He, with his experience, very well-timed sprint. And this course definitely, we're looking for a nice power up at the end to come through, not the feather or the 10 XP.
Maybe some of his Zwift power data, if you can pull up there, we've got down on the screen there, Greg. We'll leave Gilbert because it's pretty impressive. He's a top-ranked rider. We are going to come in front of his little avatar in the background, but let's go through some of this this data. And yeah, it's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah,
actually.
he's 13.77 watts, Tim, on the fast sprint. But let's look at his FTP, mate. It sits at 360 watts for an 80-kilo athlete. So some huge numbers there, way over 5 watts a kilo.
I think he's in about the top 80%, the 80th percentile for every single classification on Zwift Power. So that's short sprint, long sprint, the ruler, and the time trialist. So just a well-rounded guy. So that's probably why he's clearly been so successful in the Warrior races lately. We hope he's in there tonight. We are assuming because he's signed up, but that's the beauty of Zwift, mate. You can just drop off if you don't really feel like it.
He's had a couple of roll-arounds too in the last few events he's done, so expect to see big things from Luke again as he lines up for the Coal Sports Warrior race.
Let's go down to the paddock and check out some of these riders waiting to go tonight. It'll be interesting to see how many races or riders we have got in the paddock tonight, and we'll check that out. We're probably inside about 90 seconds by my clock. We'll have a look and see, of course, with the dev access. But 1 minute 15 to go for the race. There's some of the riders readied up there. We just go A, B, C, and D all together. If you are tuning in for the first time, if you're tuning in for the very first time to watch an e-cycling race, you'll see a whole bunch of different data measurements on the screen. We'll try and help you understand what all that sort of means, because we shouldn't just assume everyone's a regular watcher. Obviously, this is a relatively new sport, so we'll try and do our best to help the viewers at home understand.
If you are watching along at home, feel free to pop any comments, feedback, or anything into the comments. We will address a lot of questions and things as we roll through the race as well.
And we'll welcome in, of course, Kent Cross in special comments tonight, one of the coaches here at Coa Sports, and he'll be giving us a couple of insights, mate. So, Kent, you're dual producing with Nathan, so got your hands full, but welcome along to the coverage, mate.
Thanks, guys. Yep, always got my hands full with all of this stuff, especially trying to keep you guys in track. So, Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Looking forward to it.
Someone has to keep us in check, that's for sure. So inside 15 seconds, Greg. So how do you like to start your Zwift race, particularly here on Watopia?
Oh,
Flat?
this
What are
one here, you want to push about 700 watts for about the first 30 seconds. Establish yourself in the front group, and then sit in. There's a huge group of riders this morning or tonight, Tim. 180 starters. So as they roll through now, and we will catch up with the front group as we come along as well. So shout out to Ivany there, Berger, Liam Bertuzzi, Tim. He was one that we framed up a few weeks ago for the Cole Sports Warrior race
that's right.
for the win, and he just went a little bit early. So look out for him. Didn't realise he was racing, so he'll be one. There's Giuliano there, definitely won our races before as well. So this is probably, I'm going to say, the hardest and strongest group we've ever had racing one of our races. And it's good to see as well that Luc Gilbert has brought along about 4 of his teammates from the Laferte bicycle group now. So this is going to be, this is his whole team now getting behind him. As he says on his Zwift profile, his Zwift Power profile, that he doesn't really ride for himself. He rides for the team. Now, that's the biggest cliche I've ever heard. So look out for the Laferte team as they roll through as well.
Okay, so they're out here on Ocean Boulevard. There's that left-hand turn that we spoke about there in the race previously. There now they'll start to work their way towards the underwater tunnel. Nice front pack here, group. We've got about 43 riders of 100. So we had about 150 again starting tonight, and really super stuff. So thanks to Nathan there back there giving us the great action and great camera angles. So here with McLuhan off the front, who have we got in there? We got Carilli, Van Tan, and Arsenault in there, and Bebe and Cohen.
That's some good pronunciation there this morning,
Tim.
That's one of the things, if we could go along to a pronunciation school, we could probably learn a little bit more about these names. So definitely a very, very strong group and a big group. I would expect not too much attrition from this group in the first lap. Traditionally, this race stays together a lot more because it is a lot flatter.
Yeah, we cover, of course, the Volcano Loop as part of our series. We do 4 laps there and out on the sand and Sequoia, and obviously coming up through Titans Grove, you get that big split in the pack, and you don't really get the opportunity, but sometimes you just get those little mini attacks off the front just so as people sort of stretch the legs, maybe even use the first sort of 10 minutes of this race as part of their warm-up if they are pressed for time. And one of the beauties of Zwift racing is that it's a pretty efficient use of time.
I'm the classic for getting on about 90 seconds pre-race, strapping the shoes in, getting the sweaty heart rate strap on from the night before, and using that first 10 minutes for exactly that, getting a nice little warm up in, and not pushing too much petrol as you come through the first. Probably it's about 10 minutes, and then you rip into the race.
We've got Ivany in there too. That was someone we spoke about actually last night. We were doing our pre-race sort of research, and Ivany, we obviously know he gets on board with the race regularly, and someone we're going to do a rider preview about. We'll save that for next week. But Hamilton in there, were a few Kiwis and Aussies as well popping in there, so maybe just taking a little bit of an RDO.
Yep.
Of course, it is the mid-morning here in Australia, and that's the beauty of this. You pick up a huge broad array of people from all over the world, and obviously with this time slot or this race, we get a lot of Canadians and Americans because obviously for those on the east coast of the USA, it's just coming into dinner time.
Yeah, so shout out to a couple of people there. We've got Jeremy Duffield saying, go Beeb, go Bibby, go Bebby. Is that am I showing my age not knowing what Bibby means? Is that
no,
babe?
that was the name that I mispronounced that you gave me a bit of curry for. So Sorensen in there as well. Yeah, so there's Go Bebe. So, we'll just... that's about right, isn't it? So Berger in there as well, Greg. Berger likes to attack early. And thank you very much there from Jason Avery. Yeah, we really like it too. We're doing our best, and obviously with the help of Nathan, we're trying to bring just a little bit more information about the riders behind the avatars, because we think that's what makes Zwift great, is that the stories. They're not... A lot of them aren't professionals. They're people just trying to make their way and stay fit and healthy. And obviously as a coaching organisation as well, that's what we try to do as well. Yeah,
and Becky's daddy coming in there too. Yes, definitely going to need a big, huge effort to take the chocolates off Luke this morning. It's huge.
McLuhan's had his nose to the breeze here for the majority of the first portion of this, and looks like Arbadella or Arboleda. He's pushed
the Colombian
to the front there.
athlete.
He pushed up through 7 watts a kilo. McLuhan there taking the front back. He's He's doing a Thomas de Gent. He's just on the front, but they're starting to push through as they come out of the underwater tunnel here. Nice little ramp up to 3%. There you see those orange lights on the side, 9.2 watts per kilo. He comes doving off the front. He's certainly got his head down, working his way up here. He'll start to flatten off, but there's that stretch in the group, but you get the smart riders there. You'll never really see Gilbert and any of these guys really come to the front. Alex Side, it's great to see him in there tonight, and it appears that he does have the Warrior Race jersey on.
He certainly
does.
Disc
wheel off the front there.
He certainly does. So definitely some tactics going on here. This is Venny now, the Canadian athlete. Just a lazy 13 watts a kilo, that's 900 watts straight off the front, Tim, if you don't mind. Yep. So 175 beats a minute there. And then we've got Luke coming across the gap there as well.
Are they on the same team potentially here? We might see a coordinated attack, or Gilbert has not let him go, so we've got a breakaway.
And a third coming across the pack now, Tim from Lafferty Cycles as well. So these three, if they get together, this could be curtains in this race.
Here we go. So a coordinated attack on WhatsApp. Are the riders paying attention and working their way out? This is what Watopia Flat can offer. These little mini attacks. So we do have some break in the group. This is going to hurt early, and a really good time to attack because it does jack up, as we know, to about 1-2%. So
yeah, I did catch Liam Bertuzzi there, Tim, pushing 8 watts a kilo to come across the gap as well. And Cohen, one of the higher ranked riders in this event, he is coming across as well. So if nothing else, this is going to suck a lot of juice out of a lot of legs in that bunch. Look how strung out they are.
Look at this. So look at this. We see this a little bit, but this is a really coordinated attack. And then we've got Bertuzzi there responding, saying, "Hello, I'm actually here as well. I'm going to attack."
Check out the heart rate, Tim.
7.4 watts per kilo, nearly 200 beats per minute. That's a huge heart rate. If I did that, I think I'd just drop off and fall off the perch. 460 watts, 196 beats per minute, and he's nice RPM there. So he's got a gap back 1 or 2 seconds. But
look at the split now. There's a definite split in that peloton, Tim, as they come up that little 1%, little false flat there. So Bertuzzi and Luke and a couple of the other Lafert riders definitely strung that group out, and there's a definite split there, 2-second gap back now to the main group from Bertuzzi, and then I'm going to say another 2 to 3 seconds back to that chase group.
Yeah, Bertuzzi there, he'll just probably want to let that group come back to him. He's done a lot of the hard work, but 195 beats per minute. Interesting to see how that heart rate potentially drops away. Hard to do, though, because here they take that right hand, and you just start to get that. It's certainly not a false flat, but it's definitely not. It's certainly got a little bit of uphill to it. And here's that front group. Perhaps if we zoom
there's
out
a little great bit, look back to that second group.
There's
now,
that second group, so that's going to be hard to bridge back because there's some seriously quality riders here in this front group now.
Yeah, it's always good to see a lot of Tron bikes coming to the front of a group. So definitely a lot of Zwift experience in there. So here's this second group now.
There's the gap.
We've got Dex Dines. They're trying to push 7 watts a kilo, and Bebby's still hanging in there, and they're a few seconds back.
Yeah, 4 seconds back to that second group. If they can sort of get to act together, because often you get that front group, sort of everyone sitting up, looking at each other, waiting for someone else to take the front, particularly when you come up, but it's stretched out to 5 seconds. We'll just keep an eye on that. Dallas is in that front group as well. Giuliano, Venn, and McClune still hanging in there in that front group at the back there.
Yeah, that's just they're just holding that 3-4 second gap. So someone for 5 seconds, 6 seconds now. So this second group's going to have to absolutely rip it when they get to the top of this climb, Tim, and they start to come downhill again. They're going to have to really push to get back on.
It may come back together because, like I said on that, it is a 2-lapper, so there's a lot of time to go. We're only 6.2 into a 20K race, so it probably will come back together, you'd imagine, unless these guys can start to coordinate. But you've got a big mix here, and potentially I would say it's going to come back together. We are now out of that section. We're going to come through the SprintCom section where you come out of the cobbles and then underneath the tunnel. So be interesting to know some of the super times on this little SprintCom coming up. And Kent, I think you've got a little bit of information there for about the distance and what this SprintCom has in store.
Yeah, I do. Thanks, Tim. So there's the Watopia Sprint, which, as you mentioned, we'll be coming up to. There's 2 times. There's one which I'm questionable, which is 9 seconds, right, by Robbie Parker. And then in the second place for this SprintCom, you've got 17 seconds.
I think we'll take that as number 1.
It's quite a big gap. So look for about 17 seconds through the SprintCom as a benchmark as what they want to beat.
Yep, yeah, good stuff. So here's that waterfall on the right-hand side of the riders, and this is poking through that tunnel. and they've got the villages on the side. No one out having a coffee this morning,
Not
but
yet.
it depends on, of course, where we are in the world.
This
There they
has
are. That's an
been-
empty cafe. They're going to struggle.
Yeah, that's right. We've certainly now broadcast this race quite a few times, and this has been genuinely the hardest push in the first lap I've ever seen on Watopia Flat in the Cole Sports race. So this front group now has really established itself with a nice little buffer. There's the start of the sprint there.
Yep.
And it will be interesting to see if this second group can bridge back, and more importantly, how much petrol they have to spend. I'm just going to jump back across to Kent there, Tim, and see what he's got. He's got his hand in the air, ready to pop in.
Yeah, I just got a little thing. So you mentioned before with Luke, he's actually got 2 other teammates he's brought in. So it's interesting that the race is broken up as it is, and those 3 are in the front groups. And
Yep.
Luke being a past winner, I think he's got a little bit of a plan there with his teammates to keep the hammer down.
Yeah, no doubt, and that's how this sport is developing. You've got people on Discord and different various forms of chat, whatever works for you, and people doing coordinated attacks. I've tried one with a couple of teammates and it's blown up horribly, but that's all the experimentation that you'll do. So here's the start of the S's. You've got that big split. You've got front pack, second pack,
9,
back to
10
6
watts
seconds.
a kilo now. Feather power-ups being played as they come up this 6% rise. So we've got Venny off the front, doving, and we've got Luke still there. Alex Side still hanging in there too, and Batuzzi, but Venny just pops it straight off the front as a teammate of Luke's as well. So there's definitely something going on here. I wonder if they're on a headset together, just having a quick chat and a little breather as he pushes straight off the front.
No doubt about it. You need to hang in there at this point. You'll see a bunch of little icons sometimes that pop up above the avatars' heads. They are indeed what's called power-ups. And if you're unfamiliar with those, there's all different power-ups that you earn as you do different laps. You do different comms and different sprints. And then you hopefully you get the right one. And of course, I really like the 10 XP. That's really handy in racing.
That's really great. So quick shout out, Tim, to Carly Taylor, who is a part of the Zwift team in Australia. She's joined us in the race, and there's the comment there. She's absolutely dying in there too. So
welcome.
It's always good to see that people are having an absolute crack wherever it is in the world.
Carly won't mind, of course, but not a bad rider back in her day.
Pretty handy.
Carly Taylor.
Pretty handy, you'd have to say. Did don on the Australian Championship colours there at one stage not too many years ago, and I'm sure can still hold her own in many pelotons around the world, Tim.
Well, guess what, Carly? She's been doing running off the bike because she's got Geelong 70.3 coming up. So a lot of triathletes using Zwift racing now as part of their preparations and uses of time. So thanks for jumping on board, Carly, and we'll see how you go in the finish. But back to the action here. There's that second group. It's started to really splinter out now. So we've got that front group now well established with these huge names. This sprint finish, we are going to see well and truly into the 4 digits, as we like to say.
Yep.
The corridor of chaos down.
The corridor of chaos. I've been waiting for you to rip one of them out. That's straight stolen out of the Damien Fleming playbook right there. There's usually the laneway of liquidation, Tim, but
isn't it the avenue of apprehension?
The avenue of apprehension and what is it? The corridor of
chaos.
Chaos.
Yeah, the corridor of chaos.
The window of what's opportunity, we'll start to call it as well. So I just made that one up. Wasn't that good? But anyway.
Enough of our silliness. So this will give people a little bit of an insight. So we're coming towards the end of the first lap. Again, they'll do this, but watch for this point on the second lap. This is where you start to see that sort of that train type, particularly when you've got 3 riders from the same team. You'll probably get a lead out and then a real punch. You've got 300 metres to the finish to go. So yeah, look for this when we come around here in another sort of 13 minutes time. This will be almost a sub 26.2 lap.
Yeah, last time we went around here, Tim, it was 26.29 was the winning time, and 26.31 was second. So this is certainly going to be a little bit quicker than that this evening.
Good indication of the quality of riding tonight. So 13 seconds back to Berger.
Yeah,
now
wow.
Berger is usually he might have done 2 hours. He might have done 2 hours on the trainer beforehand. We don't know that, but let's just assume that these guys
Dallas is still holding in that group. But yeah, sorry to cut you off, Tim. Definitely some harder work going on here as we follow Carilli there, the American athlete, in the front group as well.
That's the front of that second group. Sorry, Greg, as well. So 14 seconds now back. So yeah, Nathan just took us back to that second group. Probably another cracking finish here. Here's Bebe. Here's my favourite. I like Bebe. It's just a bit of a name. So he's off the front, of course, of this second pack. And look at some of these names in this second group. Unbelievable.
Yeah, pretty amazing that attack from the Laferte team as they popped off the front. But they are starting. They can still see him. The little carrot up the road. Always easier to ride when you're chasing from behind, Tim, and not being the little rabbit up the road. So.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. So, back to this front group I think we're with now. So, nice little vertical view. It's very wet out, much like it is here in the real world here at the Sunshine Coast where we're broadcasting from. It is bucketing down at the moment outside.
A good view there too, Tim, of the Zwift running track as we come round. So if you are a Zwift runner, jump on the old blue track. Mayfield. I know there's a lot of cyclists that want to get out on a velodrome, and we are looking forward to, probably later today, Tim, I will sit on the kicker for an hour and a half, and I will be listening to the Zwift cast. Simon Schofield interviewing, as he does every year, Eric Min, and wow, there's a lot of content in that. There's a lot of questions. He doesn't hold back. So
I'm looking forward to having a listen. And those guys do a great job. Of course, Nathan with the little head wobble there. He's involved, I think, in the production. And he's a little bit on the screen. And Shane Miller as well, keeping it all together with all the product reviews. The guys do a great job, certainly on my podcast playlist. We're coming into the underwater of the tunnel. We might take a bit of a deep breath. And, we'll take a short break and be back really shortly. Okay, no worries. We're back. Got a little glass of milk there. Just refresh the vocal cords, ready for the big sprint finish.
Everyone will have a little laugh about this. It is 8 a.m. our time in southeast Queensland, and Tim was on his last warning this morning. I bring him a coffee every week, and the last 3 weeks he hasn't drunk it because he's been so excited. But he's back. He's back. So
I think that second group's getting really close now, Greg. I think we're definitely going to get. So this is that thing on that second lap where it's just that distance was probably just too great. They've closed that gap. We are back to one big peloton, but of course, when we came out of the underwater tunnel last time,
this was where
that was where we saw that big attack as well. So we may see the same again. Here's that pressure being applied off the front. Alex Side there moves towards the front. Who have we got here off the front attacking? Alex Side on his wheel second. Back to Corrigan. You've got Dallas there. That's going to
the very best way to get rid of these riders again, Tim, is they sniff the back wheel of the group and then bang, off the group goes again. So right at the base, they're going to hit a 3% rise any second now. So this will be very interesting to see.
Yeah, 188 beats per minute. Bertuzzi off the front doing all the work at the moment. We've still got to get to that opening, of course, that Jarvis Bay tribute. But all that work that second group had to do to get back.
And it'll string out again.
Wait till we get to this ramp. We may even see almost the exact same split in the back, because some of those riders at the back or have come through, I'd imagine, might be carrying a pretty high heart rate, or certainly a fair bit of lactate in the legs.
Definitely some heavy legs coming through there. And I just saw Bertuzzi there at 188. That's about 60% of his max heart rate. So just chucking it back across to Kent, and he's got some data for us.
Yeah, just speaking on Bertuzzi, it's the second or third time now that he's put off a really big break at the front. Under 23 years old, this guy. FTP of 356 watts a kilo. 356 watts. I keep saying that.
Pretty solid. What's his weight, Ken? What's his weight come through on Zwift Power?
66 kilos.
Okay, so that's over 5 watts a kilo as an FTP. So definitely one to look for. He did have an early attack last time he raced with us. Probably just went a little early. It was on the Sand and Sequoias course, and he got run down. I'm going to say it was by Ivany, or Luke, actually, with about 200 to go.
Here we come out of the tunnel. So there's those power-ups. It's a great time to pay that feather up power-up. So it just drops your weight a little bit as you come out of the tunnel. It makes you, or helps you certainly hang in there. Are we seeing that big stretch? Are we going to see the same attack that we saw on lap one? Let's see how we go.
Tim off the front.
Doving there off the front. Don't think it's a big attack. I think we're just sort of strung out. We've got a little bit of attrition there off the back of the pack. Let's see if they do the big attack, or are they just going to sit in now till the finish line? We've got a question there on Facebook, certainly from Jay Avery, about what will it take to take down Gilbert. Well, this is one of the challenges, and why he's probably won the last three, is that he's in the top 80th percentile across all four. So even if you attack early, he's probably got the power to go with you, and that's what makes him one of the best riders out on Zwift at the moment. But there could be someone here in the pack tonight that we haven't seen before.
Yep.
That's you don't know them all, and you've got Corrigan in there as well. They typically come to the front. Cohen, certainly. I know Dallas. He kind of missed the mark there last week. Not a criticism, but maybe just missed it. But I know Dallas certainly can push well and truly over 1,000 watts. So look for him as well if they just can get that timing right.
Yeah, good comment coming through there from Steve Ricketts. I'm probably in Steve's court there too, Tim. I can definitely relate to the 90 RPM, but the 190 heart rate and the 550 watts for a minute, that's next level stuff. And these guys, I'm really looking forward to seeing this sprint. they're just going to come over the little bridge here, and this group has definitely not strung out like it did last lap, and all the big heavy hitters are still well within there.
Yeah. One of the questions there was, is the dual recording required? I'm going to interpret by saying, is the race series on Zwift Power? I think that's so this is just an open race on the community. We call it as we see it. Obviously, we do some private racing as well through the Cola Sports League. We're not here to plug that, but certainly, we of course, we like to make sure that there are results there in Zwift Power, but they're not racing for sheep stations, as they say. But if you guys were in this race, knowing the power from some of the guys have, what would your race tactics be?
Yeah,
don't follow me.
No, I'll jump in there, Becky's daddy, and I will say my tactic here would be
it's Becky's daddy.
Becky's daddy.
Okay, I thought we were in a bit of trouble.
No, never. So I would certainly try it personally. I would be staying with the group as far as I could up the climb, and I'd be punching it straight off the front as hard as I could with 700 metres to go. Right. So how long that would last, I don't know, but I'm expecting our friend Liam Bertuzzi to be that guy this evening, and he's going to absolutely give it to him early and try and hold him off.
What you want to do really is play to your strengths, Greg. I mean, if you've got a highlighted weakness, like speaking for myself, I definitely don't have a great 5-second power, which is not great for Zwift racing. It was a couple of years ago when there wasn't so many people doing it. But, not so bad over the 1-2 minutes. So I just don't like to play in the hands because I can't push 1,000 watts, right? So if I leave it down to a 10-second sprint, I'm barbecued.
Yeah.
So just sort of play to your strengths and then try and improve those weaknesses and get a coach that can help you get better on Zwift racing as well.
Absolutely. So these two, Venny and Bertuzzi, just stringing them out again. Again, we've got that separation, Tim, back 2-3 seconds to a little group back off. They've just been popped off the back. It's going to be very tricky for them to get back on now.
Yeah, I'd say that's game over. Doving in there, Giuliano, they're sitting right at the back there. Giuliano hasn't really come to the front.
Here's the second group now, Tim. So we've got Eating in there and a couple of other names that Carilli's definitely been in our races before. So you see they're definitely working 163 beats a minute. But that group of five is going to really find it tricky now to bridge back across to Giuliani inside and those sorts of guys.
A lot of Tron bikes in the front, Brad. And we got some, as they come up this ramp here of 1%, Berger in there. So a lot of Tron bikes in. So, of course, 50,000 metres of climbing on Zwift gets you the Tron bike, which everyone wants in, of course, Zwift racing. But there are other better bikes as well, of course.
A little tip to everyone watching out there. Don't be like the great April Gillies and not enter the competition. So you don't want to be doing 30,000 metres for free and then starting again. So jump onto Zwift and launch yourself into that little area to get your Tron bike.
So in this front pack here, I'm just going to guess we've got about I've got about 20 riders here in the front pack. Any good coaches for Zwift? No, not sure. Jason, I'd just jump on Google and just Google it, mate. See what comes up. And it's apparently your
Siri's a good coach. Siri would be a good coach.
Yeah, just ask Siri. She'll be able to do it, as probably Siri pops up here on our phone. So Sorensen's in there. Not far to go now, Greg. We've got about 3-4 Ks to go. So maybe just a relaxing of the tension. We do still have that little ramp where potentially that's where it can all start, where we were talking about maybe an early attack. And we have seen that here on the two-lapper here at Watopia over to Kent.
There's one guy that I've been sort of watching in the group, and he hasn't really been making an impact. Mizuki Tomizawa?
Yes.
Yep.
So he's been
he's Japanese.
I think he is. And so he's been just biding his time in the group, but he's got a very long sprint. He can hold 650 watts for about a minute and a half.
I'm just jumping on and having a look at him now. So yes,
I reckon he could potentially go early and hold him off.
From the Dads Inside Riding Trainers group as well, the Dirt Team.
Crew.
They're a fantastic group. So here they come around here. Just the ending that sprint com will go across the bridge and into the S's down to the Ocean Boulevard. Just
coming back to Tomizawa just for a second, he did have a push early off the front before that first attack started on lap 1. So he's definitely got the legs there, 170 beats a minute, and I would expect to see him somewhere in the finish. And a great tip there from Kent. And don't get in the line to collect your tickets, because we've been wrong before, but let's see how it all rolls out.
Get ready for some action now as we come. I'm going to take a right-hand turn and kick up this little ramp. We'll see some big orange lights on the right-hand side, some early attacks, probably a few feather-up power-ups as well in the main peloton. A little green icon above some of the heads. There they are right there, 3 right on cue. So they're the ones that take your weight off. Certainly not that you want to play them on the downhill.
Here goes Venny. Venny just dropped to the back. He's been at the front quite a bit. He dropped to the back, and now he's pushing pushy 11 watts a kilo as he just streams it straight to the front of the group. Perhaps he sat up and wiped his brow and had a little sip of his electrolyte before he absolutely ripped it up the climb.
He might maintain. This is the sort of thing. Is he stretching, or is he going to keep going and try and maintain a 2-3 second gap? Probably really, really difficult again with the quality back there.
Again, bringing the group back across. Geez, he's done a lot of work this morning, Tim.
Again,
he's you called it early. He did it last race as well, and we can see Luke just sitting and hugging wheels as he lets others bring the group back, and that can be a thing as well. Like he's the leader of the pack there, so I'd probably let him go. Final K to go, Tim.
Final K to go as we wind our way through the S's and down onto Ocean Boulevard soon. So look for some early attacks potentially, as we spoke about. We're with Cohen here off the front in the yellow jersey. Sitting on Cohen's wheel is Endo back to, and we've got Batuzzi in there, Doving. Alex Sides hung in there really well, and of course we've got Hould there as well from Laferde Cycles.
Yeah, so just see these guys. I think as soon as it hits the bottom here, we're going to see them absolutely rip it up down Ocean Boulevard. Once again, Batuzzi off the front, just a lazy 8 watts a kilo as he stretches their legs out. Check out that heart rate, guys, 197. I'm predicting he's going to top 200 here, which we don't see very often in Zwift racing, but being a young guy, he can push a little bit harder. So front group of about 15 to 20 riders as they come through.
198, I'm dead.
That's right.
I'm officially dead.
I'd be dead at about
Get
185. So he's just sit back in the group again there. So expect to see one more push from Batuzzi before they hit Ocean Boulevard.
Here they come underneath the tunnel. So all back together, all said and done after all those attacks. We are back all and look for some massive numbers. Top
here
left.
Here we come. As we swing around to the left here, someone's about to drop every bit of carrot they've absolutely got in their tank. So waiting for the first attack to come. Alex Side, I would expect to see push a little bit harder there as well. And here goes Luke. Straight. Is it Luke? Is it who we got off the front there? We've got absolutely Luke's gone so early at 18 watts a kilo. It's up to the other guys now if they can come across the gap. Alex Side trying there, Doving, Sorensen. Here comes Alex Side riding up to his wheel and straight over the top. We're with Doving now as he guns over the top. Doving coming through, absolute 14 watts a kilo. I think Luke's gone, Tim. He's Cactus. We've got Dallas coming through there too, Venny, and we're still with Marino. Doving just absolutely smashed it off the front. We do need to go back and have a look. I just got a little bit lost there, but an upset in the Koa Sports Warrior race. Unbelievable effort.
Good stuff there by Doving. I don't think we saw Doving come to the front, and that's what we're saying about these guys in these packs. They can sort of sit in, race really smart. Interesting result there. So we saw Luke there go probably a little bit too early. He's been able to hang in there. Alex Side, a great response. Alex has improved dramatically over the last 6 months since we've been doing this race series. But there comes Doving in that orange Tron bike. Gets the attack right. You saw Dallas 16. There with him, just couldn't quite go. But look at that, 15.6 watts per kilo. Shut the gate. Corridor of chaos. It's all over, Greg.
Off you, Poppy, says to Alex Side. Tim, we've pulled out all the specialties this morning. So he says, see you later, guys. I'm going. You can catch me if you can. That was Doving. Side just went a little bit early. And I think Dallas might have popped in there for second. But what an absolutely great well-timed attack. And unbelievable finish. So
huge numbers. We saw the 4 digits there, so great to see. Always great quality now here in the Koa Sports Warrior Series racing out on Watopia, and of course all the other worlds. We are looking to add a few more races and a few more series through, but of course as well trying to improve our production. And we're all about the Zwift community, which is why we're working with Nathan, of course, back at Zwift Community Live. So we're really keen on getting constructive feedback. We're trying to add as much elements to the production. Obviously the guys at Zwift Live as well did a great job with TDZ, and yeah, look, you can see this sport now really starting to get some legs and some efforts and resources being put in. And of course a shout out to all our athletes around the world. But Greg, that was a killer dealer race.
What a ripper of a race. So let's throw back to Nathan in the studio in the US, and he will run through our top 10 finishes this evening.
Race hard.
Awesome race. Obviously, a huge amount of work, as you guys can all see, being put in by the boys in Land Down Under from Koa Sports. Make sure to go check those guys out, as they are doing a great job jumping into some of these races. They've got 2 of them so far, and they've got a lot more coming. It looks like a lot of work going on in the background. Really appreciate everything that they're doing. So looking through the results here, we're going to go through them for the Core Sports Warrior race in the A category. And now we've had some today, for some odd reason, there's been a ZwiftPower.com issue with the live results. So I'm looking to update the results here, and for some odd reason, they're not coming our way. But we obviously did see Doving come across the finish line there in first place. I can probably bring the replay back up and get an idea of where things are standing currently right now. But from what I'm seeing right now, I'm clicking around on every single spot on ZwiftPower.com that I can. And for some odd reason on the day, live results are not coming through. So we'll have to wait for an update perhaps from ZwiftPower.com about what is going on with the results currently right now. I have a feeling that for some reason the backend API is not loading in, and no idea why that might be. But what I will do for you real quickly here is bring in the replay, as I did get a good guess on how things ended up playing out between the riders from my perspective there. So let's go ahead and see if I can bring that on in here for everybody. I'll give you guys a quick little walkthrough. Obviously, it was Gilbert that did give the early kick. Went very early, fairly well timed, but it's really about that flattening out after they come on the downhill. And that's exactly when we see side coming off the front, but it was Doving who went from middle of the pack with the speed from the pack that was being generated there. We also saw the raw power of 15 watts per kilogram, maxing that thing out at about 1,200, it looked like, as the heart rate goes up. As we're going to just speed it up just a tad here, and then we'll see here side fades as well as Gilbert, and I believe it was the rest of the pack that swallowed them up. And as they come across the line, I believe it was Dallas just maybe nipped out by Dex Dines, then Dallas, I believe, followed up by Side maybe for fourth. But we'll have to wait and see if ZwiftPower.com will give us an update. It'll probably be, I'm going to go ahead and, sorry about that. There we go. So I'm going to take a quick look at some of the races from earlier today and just going to see if the leagues did update, because if they did, then I'll be able to give you guys a good idea of when exactly you'll be able to have a look at how the results ended up playing out. But right now, the Callus Cup that we did broadcast earlier today, I'm not seeing that on the events right now for what has actually been updated either. So I have a feeling that for some odd reason that there needs to be an update on the backend API from what I can see, because currently live is offline. Now that has updated actually with the Callus Cup from what I can see, but live is still offline for that one as well. So we have to wait and see what ends up playing out with that. So apologies on that, guys. I wish I could give you guys results, but sometimes we are at the mercy of the tools at hand. So we'll see you guys, though, next week for the Ultimate 3R Racing, as well as Callus Cup, and then we'll be back for more Warrior Racing next week as well. Make sure to hit those follow buttons wherever you are watching, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, or Mixer. Make sure to turn on your notification bell so you get a notification when we do go live. We will see you next week. 3R Racing Tuesday. See you there. As always, everybody, ride on.